So there are like two ways of getting into cinematography. One would be obviously film school, and one is also, at least in this field of work, another way in is available, which would be by learning on the job. You don't really need like a film school certificate or a degree to get into this. So I think I'll be discussing both the aspects. On first would be like on the job. Again, as I mentioned, mostly you can get in as an AC or a camera intern. You can, there are like, I'll be talking about like social media, paid DPs here and all that stuff. Like you can get in touch with them, with the cinematographers and stuff on, like maybe make a list after you are sure about you want to get into this, make a list of like 10 DOPs that whose work interests you, get in touch with 10 of them, 5 of them might reply back, 2 of them would actually meet you, and maybe then one would like take you in, because like a lot of these, it's DPs like work with their teams and stuff, it's fixed. But luckily, it's literally a chance of luck that a post might open up, or like they might be working on a big project where they might need more people and they might take you. And again, it depends on which position you get into. It depends on your experience and like all that stuff. So social media would definitely help. If having some kind of portfolio, like a show reel that ready to, like once you approach a cinematographer, you can show, okay, this is the work that I've done. That would definitely help. Self-study is, again, as I said, like the things that I mentioned, all the technical aspects, all the aesthetical aspects, वो खुद से पढ़ोगे, like obviously internet पे सब कुछ मिल जाएगा दुनिया भर का, but that would set you apart from the rest of the people who are just like maybe worshipping DSLR, and that's why they can get into cinematography. But self-study, I think, would put you apart from those. And obviously, it's a game of like networking on and contacts, like most of the fields, I guess. You can't really sit at home putting up posts on like Instagram and Facebook and think कि ये photo देख के कोई मुझे काम दे रहे. You have to be proactive, like, especially if you want to learn on the job where you don't really have any film school ka stamp or like some degree. Even people who go to film school have to do all this. So, but if you're going directly, then so karna hi hai. Okay, now coming to film school, because I went to a film school, I figured there are like certain advantages to going to film school. Would be definitely a degree from a reputed film school would put you apart, put you at the top of the list, I would say. If a person has to consider taking in new recruits, if a DOP has to take in, obviously you're someone who was from a reputed film school, like, and then it doesn't really matter how much marks you scored, and like tum class mein first aaye the, last aaye the, it doesn't matter. But having a film school certificate helps. But again, what film school you're studying from, that also matters a bit. There are like multiple like random institutes and stuff. Not everything is worth it. In a film school, no matter which film school you go to, I think the major advantage I felt at the film school was you can experiment and you can fail miserably at it. You won't have that privilege, I would say, if you start directly working in the field where there is like a certain budget allocated and like it needs to happen in a certain way, which kind of makes you like, it's after a point it just becomes like कि ये काम है, ये मैं कर रहा हूँ और ये ही मुझे करना है और पैसे वगैरह मिलेंगे, but creatively it might not be that interesting, I feel. But film school would allow you to explore your understanding of the art much more than what you would do on if you start working directly. And I think next, the only disadvantage would of the film school, like film education in general, not only cinematography, film education in general, it's a very expensive kind of art form, but also even the learning is kind of expensive. Like the film schools don't work like your normal schools where like building bana diya, classroom bana diya, board laga diya, to chalu ho gaya. You need like studios, you need lights, you need really proper cameras, you need lighting too. And then there are like multiple बहुत ज़्यादा खर्चा वाला काम है. It's only, I think, next slide, I think we'll be able to explain you better. It's like, so there are like these list of film schools. If any of you are like interested, according to me, these are like in India and in international level are like some of the best ones. You can note them down. So now what I wanted to talk about these film schools in general is because film education is so expensive, like most of the private schools as in they are like run by a certain company or some organizations, don't have all the facilities that a film school should have. It's like because a lot of money has to be put into to get that kind of infrastructure, and only like film schools that are run by even I would say central government of a country would have that kind of resources to be put into, which in India's case it's FTI and SRFTI. And if you see their campuses and stuff, and you see the campuses of other private schools, you would see the difference. And then, so these are like FTI, SRFTI run by the central government of India. Then there are like institutes like the Government Film and TV Technical Institute in Bangalore, which is run by the state government. And a lot of these, so obviously, if you are going to study in India, I think FTI, SRFTI are your best bets, because like, again, like not only they have the best resources, also the admission process is like, even the fee and stuff is very affordable. Like they make sure that it's subsidized, and like people from different backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds can get in. So that's, but at the same time in resources and stuff, that was also FTS or FT or your best bets. Then if you're not that, then even there are like almost all, I don't know if all states, but a lot of the state governments have their own technical institutes for film. Again, not the best options, but at least again, the fee and stuff is less as compared to private institutes. So that's something that you can consider in whichever state you belong to, or that kind of work. And I think in India, I think Muslingwood is the only private institute which has a good infrastructure, I feel. Apart from that, I don't know any other film school which I think is any other private film school which I think has a robust infrastructure that's needed for film study. And again, even the international, these schools that I've mentioned, they are like funded by the government and stuff, and that's why they have like certain. It's worth spending money or like going there and studying. Even obviously there are like private institutes, international also, and if you have the money, definitely go and stuff. But again, it's a very long discussion for me. So this is something things to keep in mind whenever you're applying to a film school. Like the procedure is lengthy. Just start very early, I feel. Figure out your finances. If you are one of those people who have money, then so well and good. Like, there are some even good private institutes which you can consider, and otherwise, obviously, go for like state-funded institutes. Now there are like these two topics. I feel what you need to do. I think this is something. Or no matter which profession you're going into, is like before you decide to even apply for maybe you have shortlisted like 4 or 5 schools where you want to study, and then I would suggest for each particular school, get in touch with the ex-students, like someone who maybe got out a couple of years ago and someone who has got out like 5 years ago, and like from them get to know the institute, get to know the syllabus, get to know the teachers that they teach over there. Because I think I was mentioning to Aditi before also, okay, I've seen like people who have got into some of the best film schools in the world, and they left it because the course wasn't what they thought it was. Like, I don't know, it's a very complicated thing, but जितना information निकाल सकते हो course के बारे में, institute के बारे में पहले निकाल लो, and one of the best sources of getting that information is through these getting in touch with the ex-students online वगैरह. I think you guys can figure out how to get in touch with, like, find people on social media and get in touch with them. I think most of the film schools require a bachelor's degree in anything, but again, it depends. So check kar lena. It's not always necessary, but if you're someone who's sure who wants to get into filmmaking and wants to get into one particular film school, तो अभी से देख के decide कर लो. Another thing is like, so again, there are a lot of these institutes which will put up photos of big names from the profession and saying कि हमारे यहाँ पे faculty है और आ जाओ, and they'll charge you a bomb. But and also like some big names would come in, like even in like proper film schools like FTIs or FTI and stuff, but they are like, sometimes they are just terrible teachers. So don't. So there is a difference between an artist being good at his art and him being able to teach properly. So just because some institute has some big name doesn't mean you should go to that institute. Just again figure out, get in touch with ex students and stuff. Maybe sit for some sample lectures. I don't know, and figure out. And yeah, weigh your options, like you, how you are placed financially, how you have planned your career and stuff, how much time you can invest in. Like again, like some of at FTIs or FTI people have like tried for like 4 or 5 years. They give entrance exam and then they get it, and then they do it. And so yeah, like even time and money दोनों का सोच लो. And if not, then maybe if you think 3-4 साल attempt करने से अच्छा maybe 3-4 साल तुम अगर on the job चालू कर दोगे तो 4-5 साल में तो I think you should be good enough if you have it in.
Hey Viraj,
हाँ.
I had a question. Can I ask
Yeah,
it now?
see, yeah, police. I think it's good. That's
Yeah.
okay.
I actually met this art film director, and I had the same. I asked the same question to him as well. I actually graduated now in engineering, and I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to learn more about films and films and all. Okay,
Hmm.
and I asked him whether should I join a film school or should I work on set and everything. Um, so he said that if you can give, if there is no pressure from your family that you have to start earning now, if you can give 1 year to this, I think you can learn. I think you can learn a lot. And I don't know because I've been on set twice, and I went there for clicking behind the scenes pictures and recording what goes on in the process of shooting these things. And I in 2 days I didn't think that I could actually learn many things, as I didn't get didn't get to interact with the DOP a lot because it was a
Hmm.
small shoot, and he was almost doing everything. There was only one guy, and he was there to tell him that the camera was Sony FX9, and the DOP didn't was not familiar with the UI. So there was only one guy around him, and he was telling him how to uh, do properly set the camera. That's it. So I
Hmm.
didn't get to ask him many questions.
Hmm.
I didn't get to learn why they're using the lenses they were using,
Hmm.
why this light only,
Hmm.
because it was a very short space, and time was also less. I wanted to
Hmm.
ask you in short whether I should join a school or assist someone, be on the set and learn everything by observing what's going around.
Okay, so what's your question?
This was the question. Should I join a school or should I spend more time on the sets?
Okay, I think I talked a lot about how film school works. I'll talk about now how a set works,
Uh,
or like how it happens, or like how it would be if you decide to learn on the job. So now normally on a set, like on a proper set, the DOP on the day of the shoot at least, or while shooting, won't have any time to teach you or guide you about
yes.
anything. It's only if, let's say, you just stick around. At the same time, again, you were a behind the scenes photographer or something. You were not even his camera intern or something.
Yeah.
So again, he doesn't really has to teach you anything.
Yeah.
But okay, they normally do. But either way, how it works out is, even if you're a camera intern, then you have to like just stick around for like 5-6 shoots. Maybe after that, then once you're familiar with like how things are working, you're familiar with the DOP, then there would come a certain point where, like, for whatever reason you're chilling, or like after the shoot or something, that's where like you start asking questions. Meanwhile, you can obviously do your self study, which is like, आज मैंने ये कैमरा देखा, आज मैंने ये लेंस देखा, मैंने घर पे जाके गूगल पे ओके ये दिस कैमरा है, दिस लेंसेज है, दिस ये लाइट थी तो इसका इतना इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है, ये इतना ये है. That's how you can learn. But don't expect it to be a quick process. Like, it would take you years to go from like zero
Yeah.
to even like 50%. Again, it depends on how much effort you are putting from your own side. And again, it's a very ruthless field, I would say, on set. they are very, sometimes you, again, this is, I'm telling in general, film school, no film school, on set, on the job, on not on the job. There are like a lot of toxic people out there, and be in company of good people. And if you think someone who you see you can work, who can take the responsibility of your mentorship or something, then stick around with that person, and then maybe eventually you will learn. But uh, yeah, that's about it, on at least on the set. Uh, like there aren't like proper like guidelines or rules to, if you're working in this field of work, I feel. And like things can get nasty.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me. Yeah. Okay, so this I think I just wanted to mention ki, um, you don't really need a proper background to get into cinematography. Like I think even this guy mentioned he was an engineer, or like he has studied engineering, and then now he wants to get into this. So there are like many people who do this. There are like doctors, engineers who get into this. But at the same time, if agar bachpan se, if you have like slightly creative inclination, like you're into photography, painting, illustration, that kind of stuff, that would help a lot. If you, or like if you're studying something at a junior level in these fields, then that would help your understanding, or like of, or that would ease in your entry into cinematography, I feel. Then yeah, you need an eye for detail. It's pre-visualization skills, something again I didn't get a lot of time to talk about it, but again a very important aspect. It's like initially pre-production में you go for a recce, you click pictures and this and that, so you need to figure out, okay, if यहाँ पे मैं शॉट ले रहा हूँ तो ये कैरेक्टर यहाँ पे बैठेगा, लाइट यहाँ से आएगी, यहाँ से लाइट कट होगी, ये कैमरा यहाँ से ये पॉइंट से यहाँ तक मूव होगा, अगर ये मूव नहीं हो सकता तो डायरेक्टर को भी बताओ, वो दिन पे नहीं बता सकते. So all this pre-visualization, pre-production, ये सब मिला के, it's another skill set in itself. So it's just not about creating pretty images. I feel that's another. I think I needed to write it down, I guess. It's about creating right images for your project. And yeah, your pre-visualization skills, again, if you have a creative inclination before pehle se, if you are into painting and in that photography, that kind of stuff, that would help you eventually. Again, as I mentioned, on set, sometimes it's like very high pressure stuff, especially if you're working on big budget ad shoots and that kind of stuff. It's like every minute they are spending like literally lakhs of rupees, and it can sometimes, like, the people in charge can like really get nasty. So I don't blame people, but I think the entire work culture needs an what do you call? I don't know what's the right word. Rehaul. I don't know, but yeah, it's a very difficult. If like you need certain amount of patience and like skills to just even stay in the game. If you're working on, so again, it's, if you're working on high pressure situation, it also means that you're making a lot of money. I think I'll discuss it later again. But yeah, again, you need to be a team player. Is how you work with team, how you work in a team. Basically, you can't be a lone wolf ki mere ko yahi karna hai, mujhe yahi chahiye, mujhe yahi chahiye. Maybe once or twice you will get your way, but after a point people will start avoiding working with you. It has to be at, sometimes you have to let go of something, sometimes you lose some battles, and like it needs to be a balance, I feel. कि मैं तो एकदम आर्टिस्ट आदमी हूँ, मेरे को यही करना है, वैसा it doesn't work out that way. Unless like you're once you become a big DOP, maybe then, but initially you have to work with it. And when I say team, not only with like your gaffer or your key grip or your ACs, I'm talking about director, production designer, or like other departments. Okay, filmmaking is 50% actual filmmaking, rest is just firefighting. I think this is something I think once you get into the field, you will realize it. But it's just like these small problems that you will be solving. It's like on the, if you have done your pre-production right, then on the day of shooting, the actual shooting is actually easy. It's just these small kuch na kuch hote rahega, and then you have to come up with like kind of on the spot creative solutions for these problems. And if you're good at that, chances of you being recalled for next projects and stuff increases tremendously. And the last point I feel I tell every newcomer in this field is it's a combination of three things. It's talent, contacts, and luck. I feel टैलेंट के भरोसे एक आध बार काम मिल जाएगा, बट अगर लक नहीं है, कॉन्टैक्ट्स नहीं है, तो वापस तुम बैठोगे घर पे. कॉन्टैक्ट्स है तो ठीक है, एक दो बार एक कॉन्टैक्ट के थ्रू जॉब मिल गया, शूट कर लोगे, पर अगर टैलेंट नहीं है, वो स्क्रीन पे दिख जाता है, फिर वो तुम्हें नहीं बोलेगा. और लक तो आई थिंक इन एनी फील्ड यू नीड. सो basically, yeah, like people matter a lot. You can't be like one of those I'm an introvert too, or then I can't network, and you will have to put yourself out there and then wish for the best.